Have you ever thought, I wish I could speak English faster? Or maybe you've thought, I don't sound like the other people around me. It may be that you're not doing some of the things other English people do when they speak. And this video is going to help you. I'm going to share 5 ways in which you can make your English speaking faster in the way that native speakers do. Many of these tips come from my English pronunciation and speaking course, which has hours and hours of practice and teaching on the points we're going to cover in this video. But today we're just going to briefly get you started with what you need to do to speak faster and sound more native in English. Number 1, relax. Oh, Rupert, it's easy for you to say relax. You don't know how bad my grammar is and I have to think about my grammar all the time and then I just can't speak fast. I know. I've taught students for 20 years. My students always felt their grammar had to be perfect. It doesn't. When you speak in English, it's not as important to get all of your grammar correct. When you're writing it is, but in speaking, we forgive mistakes a lot more. And if you listen to English speakers carefully, not just in films where they've probably done the same take 10 times, you will notice that they are making mistakes too. So please relax. When you relax, it's much easier for the English to come out of you at a good speed. And don't worry too much about your grammatical mistakes. Point 2, connect your words together. English speakers don't stop one word, have a gap, and then start another word. There's a whole set of things English speakers do, and you can do them too, to make your speech faster. Here's the first one. Look at this sentence here. We aim to treat people well. There's a few things you may not have noticed about how I said that. Firstly, when I connected a word ending with a vowel and another word starting with a vowel, I put an extra sound in between them to help me get from one word faster to the other. It would be much slower to say we aim with a gap. So I add a sound, yeah. We aim. We aim. And in English, we often add an extra sound between vowels when one word finishes with a vowel, another word starts with a vowel, in order to get from one word to the next faster. Next, if you were listening carefully, you'll notice I didn't pronounce the T at the end of treat. I did not say, we aim to treat people well. Instead, I said, we aim to treat people. We aim to treat people. And with many hard consonant sounds, if they are followed by another consonant, we will drop the final consonant in the word. We won't say it. So this happens in particular with sounds such as t and d. So instead of treat, I say tree. So I can quickly get on to people. Now you notice I've also crossed out the l in people. Now when we say the word people, it normally has a l at the end. But again, I've dropped this so I can get faster to the next word. So instead of we aim to treat people well, I say, we aim to treat people well. People well. So by doing this, it enables me to join these sounds together. And also, where there is a vowel at the end of one word and a consonant at the start of the next word, I also join those sounds together so they sound like one word. I did not say, we aim to treat. I said, we aim to treat. To treat, to treat. I joined them together. And I didn't say people well. I said people well. People well. So these are all ways in which English speakers join words together so they can say them faster. And now you need to practice doing that too. So find any English text you can. Think about how to connect the words in that text and then practice reading it and practice connecting these words as you speak. as you practice, you'll find you're able to say the sentences faster because you're connecting the words. Okay, point 3. Rhythm. Look at the words on the screen. Now, listen to me say it the first time. The farmer arrived and caught the sheep. Is that how we do it in English? It's not. It sounds more like this. The farmer arrived and caught the sheep. The farmer arrived and caught the sheep. Now, how is that different to how I said it the first time? There's a few things I've done here first. Well, first of all, I identified the key words in this sentence, which was farmer, arrived, caught, and sheep. All of these words have the meaning. Then, within these key words, I've identified the stressed syllables. Now, syllable means the sounds within a word. A word like sheep has one syllable because there's just one sound, sheep. But farmer has 2 syllables, farmer, 1, 2. So syllables, the amount of sounds in a word. And in the word farmer, the stress is on the first sound, farmer. In the word arrived, the stress is on the second sound. Now, with nouns, very often the first syllable in a 2-syllable word will be stressed, so farmer. And in verbs, often the second syllable will be stressed in a 2-syllable verb. Not always. These are general rules. They don't always apply, but you can often predict where the stress is going to be in a 2-syllable word. Okay, so I've got enough information now to say the sentence, but there's one more thing. And that is everything else in the sentence gets quicker when I read it so I can keep my rhythm. Listen to me say it again. I'll clap the rhythm. The farmer arrived and caught the sheep. The farmer arrived and caught the sheep. Notice there was an equal amount of time between farm, arrived, caught and sheep. But between farm and arrived, there are 2 extra sounds. Listen again. The farmer arrived and caught the sheep. So to keep my rhythm, I simply squash those sounds together. I make them weaker, I make them faster. And that is a very common thing English speakers do to enable themselves to speak faster. They will squash as many sounds as necessary to keep that rhythm between the stressed syllables. So you need to practice this too. So again, find something in English, maybe a book. Mark the stresses in a few sentences. Then read with rhythm slowly at first and then do it again but faster. Let's try that together with our sentence here. I'm going to do it slower and then I'm going to gradually increase the rhythm. Join in with me when you feel comfortable. The farmer arrived and caught the sheep. 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 So if you practice doing this and practice focusing on that rhythm and making that rhythm a little bit faster every time you speak, you will find that you can speak English more quickly by focusing upon that rhythm. And then all the other sounds are just not so important. But this leads into point 4, which is weak forms. Weak forms in English are a huge part of native English speaking. And if you use weak forms properly, you can speak faster too. Let's look at this question here. Let's say it slowly first of all. Do you have a moment? That's not how we say it in English though. All of the grammatical words become weaker in their vowels. So instead a native speaker would say this. Do you have a moment? Do you have a moment? Notice as well in moment the stress syllable is mo, and in the second syllable the vowel becomes weaker. Now, how does using a weak form help us to speak faster? Well, when we make sounds weak, we don't just make the sound itself weak, but we make the pronunciation faster too. So you can almost not hear it in native speech. If you were listening to an English speaker saying this at full speed, it would sound more like this. Do you have a moment? Do you have a moment? All we have left are the consonant sounds. D, y, v. Do you have a moment? And that is because the weak forms become so weak we can hardly hear them at all. So if you want to speak English faster, get your weak forms so weak and so fast that you almost can't hear them. This is what English speakers do. So to practice, perhaps you could write something about yourself. Writing about yourself is the best thing to do because this is what you're going to speak about most in more than anything else in your life. You're going to speak about yourself. So you will end up saying the same things about yourself many, many times. So it's the best thing to practice with because you're going to be using it in real life a lot. So write something about yourself, then mark the weak forms and then do what we've done here. And when you practice speaking them, reduce them so they're almost not there at all. And you'll find that you can speak much faster if you do that. Okay, point 5 is cut down lead-ins. Cut down lead-ins. Lead-ins are what you say at the beginning of your sentence or your question. Let's have a look at a couple of examples. So this question, are you coming? Are you coming? Now, remember what I said in point 1. When you're speaking, your grammar does not need to be as perfect as when it's writing. And English speakers will often break grammatical rules to get to the key information quickly. And in particular, they'll cut words out at the beginning of what they say to get there. So a native English speaker might actually say, you coming? You coming? They'll leave out the word are. And they can do that because if you use rising intonation as you speak, you're telling the listener, I'm making a question here. You coming? You coming? The tone of my voice went up. Rising intonation. So the question is signalled by my intonation, not necessarily the words. You coming? That sounds like a question. So a native English speaker can cut out the first word and not lose any meaning as far as the listener is concerned. Let's look at another example. I think that you should go. How can we cut this down? Well, again, the native English speaker may want to get straight to the key points if they are speaking quickly. So here, perhaps it's not necessary to say, I think that, because the key information is simply, you should go. So they've reduced what they say and they've cut down the words they use to get to their key points. So there you are, 5 ways that you can speak faster in English. Do practice them hard and you will find that you will get faster and you'll sound more like the people around you and you'll sound more native. Don't forget, if you want to go into more detail on any of these points, we have a huge English pronunciation and speaking course which is packed with information, teaching, practice, which will help you to develop all of these points to a much greater level. So do look in the description below and see if that's something that could be useful for you.